hear it one more time for that choir. Wasn't that great? They were absolutely fantastic, and led by my beautiful wife, Patricia Carr, and all these wonderful people. I made her mad this morning, so I need to do something to make up for it. But anyway, I wanted to do a little dance routine with it, but something about our insurance policy didn't cover it. But anyway, good morning, and welcome to Unity of Charlotte. My name is Bill Barron, and I'm president of the Board of Trustees, and delighted and honored to be so, and we feel blessed that you could join us. I see some new faces here and some familiar ones. Unity of Charlotte is here to nurture a deep, mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. Simply put, we love, we grow, we serve. A wonderful way to look at things. We believe the spiritual community enhances our experience of life, making it richer, deeper, and more expanded. If you're joining us for the first time today, we want to welcome you especially. Any of the people with blue ribbons are available to assist you and or answer any questions you may have. If you are in need of spiritual support, you can place a prayer request in our Ministry of Prayer box located in the far corner of the foyer, or you can go online to unityofcharlotte.org. And we always have many wonderful things happening at Unity of Charlotte. And today I first want to welcome the Right Reverend Sally Robbins. I'm not sure if that's her actual name, but she is the Right Reverend for us, that's for sure. And Sally's familiar to many of you here. She's been here a number of times, and we always love to see her here and bless us with her presence and her wisdom. Reverend Sally is the Associate Minister at the Center for Spiritual Living in Asheville and has been a minister for over 20 years. And she came to the ministry after over 25 years in the corporate entrepreneurial world, and her background includes extensive experience in sales and marketing, TV and radio advertising and production and event production. However, I can't quite get the 20 plus 25 because she only looks 35, so that's it. So anyway, I've been a bad boy, so I've been doing not lots of complimenting this morning, but it's true. She is... Sally is a contributing writer to the Science of Mind magazine and has also served at the national level at the Centers for Spiritual Living in a variety of roles, including 3 times being named co-chair of the CSL Event Committee, and she's also writing a book which she hopes to be published this year. I invite you to relax and allow the music to take you on an inward journey, and our prayer today is led by Reverend Sally.
So I just invite you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable. Feel yourself fully supported by your chair. Simply let go. Let's take a deep cleansing breath in. Let it out. Another cleansing breath in. Let it out. Let go of any thoughts or worries it might have taken to get you here this morning, or an agenda you have in your head of what you've got to do when you leave. Just let it go. And be fully present in this moment, the only moment there is, the holy instant, right here and right now. And so I speak my word into this very room, knowing that there is but one power, one presence, one entity, one God, whatever name we choose to call it. God, Spirit, Allah, it doesn't matter. We know that it is the essence of who we are and the transcendent power of who we are. I know and call forth that very power within me right now, because I know it is deep within me, it is deep within each and every person who is in this room. Each and every person within the sound of my voice can hear that they too are an individuation of God right here and right now. And so I speak my word from that place, that recognition of holiness, of power, of beauty, of joy. All of the God qualities that I share are coming forth right now, allowing me to fully express as God on earth. I am showing up as Sally, as God. And so I know that I am in my perfect right place, And I declare that for each and every person here, that no matter what is unfolding in their life, it is absolute spiritual perfection. Even in the midst of chaos, even in the midst of a swirling wind of activity, it doesn't matter. We know that God is amidst. God is among us. God is with us. God is us in every circumstance, every instance of our life. And so I know that if anyone is struggling this morning, they can simply cast their cares into the nothingness from which it came and know that God is always, always supporting. God has got our back. I know that if anyone is feeling the financial pinch, they simply can let go and know that supply is theirs. The cattle on 1,000 hills is theirs for the asking. We simply let go and let God. I know if anyone is experiencing a health challenge this morning, they simply can let that go as well, knowing that there is vibrant perfection going on in every cell of their body right now. We just let anything else go. And so I know from the certainty of who I am and whose I am that I can simply let go, knowing that God has got this. I need not worry one thing. This is the lilies of the field do not toil. They just simply let themselves be. And so I too will show up as love, as kindness, as compassion, as caring. I will show up as an instrument of God today. I know that every word that I speak is simply that, the words of God. And so I simply let myself go, that small s, small self go, and my large self, that God self, the capital S, shows up brightly, shining, radiant, powerful. I know that for each and every person here, that we absolutely are showing up as our best selves this morning. We are showing up as conscious individuals, and that the consciousness that we display is that of God. Oh, it is so good, so deep, so rich. We simply let it be so. So with a grateful heart, I just say, thank you, Spirit, for all that is and all that is yet to be. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. I know Marty's on talking about intentions all this month and how that makes a huge difference for us. And I found a wonderful reading out of It's Up to You by Ernest Holmes. And it's all about how sometimes we have an intention to be prosperous beings, but we think there's something called competition in the world. Anyone besides me ever think that? He addresses that really well here. He says, competition is a belief that there is not enough to go around. And while believed in, this thought manifests itself in limitation. In other words, if you feel that your line of business is crowded and you must therefore be on tiptoe to keep ahead of the other fellow, the probabilities are that you will find yourself crowded out. We must resolve this thought into its native nothingness. Truth does not compete with anyone. Therefore, we could not allow the thought to enter our minds that we are competing with anyone. We should never watch to see what another is doing or how they are doing it, for when we do this, we are limiting our own possibilities to the range of another's vision. Principle is not bound by precedent, and our good is not limited or conditioned by any good that has ever manifest. We should confidently expect a greater good than we have ever experienced or that we have ever known of anyone experiencing. In everyone, I love this, there is a unique possibility, ready to take the stamp of his individuality or her individuality. And if one has not yet discovered his or her particular niche in the scheme of things, he should or she should work for more direction and guidance than for the demonstration of prosperity. You rob no man who takes your place in the rightful scheme of creation, and fulfilling your own destiny, become a beacon of light that others, seeing your flight, may find the way again out there in the dark. To believe in competition is false and untrue. There is plenty to go around with an abundance left over. Have you ever seen a rose bush? They just give and give and give. They just keep going. Nature's like that. As Emerson said, men suffer all their life long under the foolish superstition that they can be cheated. But it is impossible for a man to be cheated by anyone but himself. As for a thing to be and not to be at the same time. When the mental gate which is now obstructing the flow of spirit through the uniqueness of our individuality is lifted, there will be an outpush which nothing can resist. Every man and woman should be willing and happy to be himself, remembering, as Emerson said, imitation is suicide. From It's Up to You by Ernest Holmes. And now we have some special music.
Endeavor to go into it until a sign appears. Don't be afraid of anything. You are guided. It will never be as we imagine it, unless we imagine it to be. I wonder where you are now. I hear you calling me. I'm telling you, you're not alone. A kind of light flows through it all. I hear a voice inside my own, like a waking dream. No, you're not alone. You cannot see or listen to the very heart of life. It isn't there, then suddenly you feel it. Going no direction, it is everywhere. Knowing every word, it makes no sound. I was no believer, but I am certain now, certain that we're not alone. A kind of light flows through it all. I hear a voice inside my own, like a waking dream. No, you're not alone. There isn't time for anything but mercy. Everything is giving birth to everything. Nothing in the world is as it seems. Light upon the water, that is the light in me. And it's telling me you're not alone. A kind of light flows through it all. I hear
Wow. I don't know about you, but I got God bumps on that one. Susan, thank you. Oh, more love for Susan. Susan Caney. Thank you. Whew. Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for being my opening act, Susan. I appreciate that. So I'm going to start today because Marty's theme this month is about intention, right? He's talking about intention all month long. And so my talk today is where two or more are gathered. We all know that quote from Scripture. Where two or more are gathered, there am I in the midst. We know that the great I am is always there. But we also know it where one or more are gathered, don't we? That you are not alone. The perfect song to open that up. We are never alone on this spiritual journey, are we? We absolutely have something within us that is limitless and supportive and loving. But I want to take a trip back. Anybody want to get nostalgic for a little bit? How many of you had one of these? Do you remember the brick cell phone? We all thought that was the coolest thing, right? We thought that was the cat's pajamas, to use an old phrase. And then how about this? Did any of you have a TV that you had to get up and walk across the room to change the channel? Or am I the only old one in here? And there were only like 3 channels, right? And then it went to 4 when you got PBS. Ooh, that was exciting. And black and white to color. And the rabbit ears, putting foil on the rabbit ears, remember that? Oh my goodness. Boy, we've come a long way. And then last but not least, those of you who are from that wonderful decade, the 70s, that maybe I was in high school in the 70s, and I certainly had this, an 8-track tape player. Remember those? Remember those? She's got, I think, an Elvis 8-track tape there she's putting in. And that was state-of-the-art back then. We thought we were something if we had an 8-track player. Now, all of those things were wonderful in their time, in their moment. But do we miss any of them? No. Okay, there's one honest person here, yes. But when we know that there has actually been improvement in technology, it's moved on to something better, right? Thank God we don't have to carry a brick around anymore. Thank God it's a smartphone that now is actually more powerful than the computers that put the man on the moon. Do you know that? Your smartphone can do more than what the computers did that put the man on the moon. That's how far technology has come. And when two or more are gathered and set an intention that there is forward movement, there is forward progress in humanity, guess what happens? We move forward. So that's what we're going to talk about today. When we come together with intention, you know what? This really is a big brick for us to carry around. Let's see if we can make it a little bit smaller, a little bit more powerful. When we set the intention, good comes from it. Good comes from it. And I want to show you the story of the dragonfly. Now, the dragonfly is actually one of my on my totem. This is what a dragonfly looks like when it's young. It's called a nymph. It actually lives in the water. Did you know that? It's the eggs are laid, it's born in the water, and it crawls around in the water, eating up all kinds of algae and things like that. It lives in the water anywhere from a couple months to 5 years. Wow. It's in there for a long time, depending upon the species of the dragonfly. But eventually, there's something within it. There's an instinctual knowing that says, there's more than this. There's something more than crawling around in the water here. And so it starts to make its way up the reeds or any grass that's sticking up out of the water. It just knows that's what it has to do. And it's there. Now, before it even does that, it sticks its head up for a couple hours because it has to go from breathing with gills to breathing oxygen. Talk about change. Talk about having to get used to something new. But it knows that that's what it has to do. It sticks its head up. Okay, all right, I can climb up the stalk now. And then when it gets up the stalk, the weakest part of this hard casing, because it's a hard crack, that this has got to come out of. The weakest part is right behind its neck, right behind its head on its neck. And so what it does is it's on these reeds, these stalks of grass, and it actually has to pull itself out of this casing, this hard casing. Does that look like a lot of fun? I don't think so. But it knows it has to do it. It's like there's something else better out here for me. I know that I have to keep moving forward. And then when it comes out of that hard casing, all that's left is the shell of what used to be there left on the reed. And then we have the beautiful dragonfly. That's a lot to go through, isn't it? But the intention that it has is to be that magnificent species of God. It doesn't have a choice. See, man is the only species that has a choice. Every other species in nature knows that it's going to go through some changes. Do you know a lobster? A lobster, when it grows, it gets a hard casing, its shell. We all know the shell. But then it outgrows that shell, and it has to leave the shell and find a place where it's relatively safe because it's got to grow its shell back again. Now, the lobster's in great danger while that's happening, while it's growing again. But it knows that it has to do that because if it stays inside that shell, it's cramped. It can't grow anymore. How many of you have been in a shell? And maybe it was time to crack out of the casing. Can I get an amen to that? Amen. You, like me, have been given free will by God, by Spirit. And we're the ones that get to ignore that too, don't we? We're the ones that could say, nah, I kind of like living in the pond here. I think I'm going to stick around. Yeah, it's a little harder to breathe. Yeah, I know I should be up there flying around, but, this is just fine for right now. And that's when we start getting into trouble. That's when we start going against that instinctive nature that is within us that is always trying to move us forward, because nature does not go backwards. It only moves forward. And you and I on this spiritual path also move forward when we choose and when we say yes to that upward evolvement. See, what looks like dying to the nymph as it's crawling up that reed is really the birth of the dragonfly. It's the birth of something greater that it doesn't even know yet. It doesn't know that it's going to spread its wings and fly. It just knows that it has to do it when it gets there. You and I are built the same way. Viktor Frankl, one of my heroes, had this to say: when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Yes, that's deep, isn't it? When we face these challenges that aren't going to change, we get to change ourselves. That's the wonderful gift that Spirit gives us, to move into a place of deep knowing that God always has our back. I just wrote an article for Science of Mind magazine, just sent it off to them, and they're going to be publishing it in the coming months. And I talked about paranoia. We all know what that is, right? When you think the world is out to get you. There's actually a psychological term called pronoia, where you think that the universe is always conspiring for your good. Isn't that great? So shouldn't we be spending a whole lot more time in pronoia? Wow, can't wait to see what the universe has ready for me this week. Woo! Wow, something exciting is going to be happening in my world. I can't wait to grow. I can't wait to move forward because God's got my back. That's the state of mind that I always try to stay in. Is it easy? Pff, I wish. But no. But pronoia, where we know without a shadow of a doubt who and whose we are. We stand up taller. We know that even in the midst of challenges, we are challenged to change ourselves, meaning we get to grow our consciousness, which is what we're here to do, right? We're here to be conscious beings to the very best of our ability. So you and I get to set these intentions, that we are here to do a mighty work, that we are here to do more than just survive. We are here, even if it means standing in the fire every now and then. Fire will burn away the dross that we don't need anymore. We get to be active, participating spiritual beings. You know, a year and a half ago, I sat in this sanctuary for the very first time. I had flown out to North Carolina from Arizona, where I was living, and Marty Bacher was candidating for this church on that Sunday, and I was deciding whether or not to move to North Carolina. And as soon as I hit the ground, I'm like, I am here. I love this place. I can't wait to be here. And I moved a few months later. But I vividly remember walking into this sanctuary and feeling the love that is here. This community is so ensconced in love. And I've seen some wonderful changes over these past 18 months as well. And I'm not just talking about, the sanctuary was painted and there's been all kinds of sprucing up, Patricia's beautiful flowers, things like that. There has been a consciousness change that has happened here. Do you know what I'm talking about? There has been an intention of forward movement, an intention of growth, an intention to be a vital spiritual community in the midst of Charlotte. Are you with me? Yes. A few of you are. Are you with me? Yes. That's what we are intending to be. And when we show up every week to be with our like-minded spiritual beings, there's that old phrase, when the tide rises, all boats rise. And you wonder, gosh, I feel so good when I leave here on Sundays. Guess what? You just participated in the group consciousness that is here that is saying we are more than what we think we are. We are far more than what we think we are. And when we set the intention to be a light on the hill, when we set the intention to be a beacon to all those who are in need, who are just wanting to know there's got to be a better way to live, unity provides that, doesn't it? This spiritual community is a light. It's such a light. And how we shine our personal lights determines how bright this community shines. And I see, such beauty when I come here. What a gift it is to come and visit you every couple months and to see how you have grown, how your consciousness is growing, how this community is growing with the connect groups and all the other wonderful things that you're doing. You may not see that because you're here day to day, but I get to come in and go, man, they are rocking it now. They are really rocking it here. That's what we're here to do, and that's what we're here to be. This is Nickajack Cave. It's partially flooded now because the Tennessee Valley Authority built a dam and flooded parts of the cave. But back in the 60s and the 70s, I think they flooded it in the early 70s, it would go on for miles and miles and miles. It was a very deep cave. And one day, in 1968, a man walked into that cave. He was a broken man. He had been abusing his body for years with drugs and alcohol. He just had no life left. He didn't want to live. And his intention was to walk as far as he could into the cave until he just could go no longer. It was not even light anymore. And he would just lay down and just die. He did not want to be on this planet anymore. His body and his soul were broken. So he did. He walked and walked and walked. Finally, when there was no more light, he couldn't see anymore, he stopped and he laid down. This was it. He was checking out. But something happened in that moment when he laid down. Something happened. He felt a breeze where there should be no breeze. He's in the depths of a cave. And he saw a light where he should not see a light. And in that moment, he said, I felt this spiritual connection where I knew that I was greater than this body. I knew that I was greater than what I thought that I was. And in that moment, he revived himself, got up, and walked out of the cave, following that light. That man was Johnny Cash. Something happened that day. Something happened that lifted him to a place where he knew that he was more than what he thought he was. Have you been in that place? Most of us have. Where we just don't know if we can keep going. He considers that day a rebirth of sorts for him. He considers that a second chance. And so he went out, got himself clean and sober, and decided that he was going to be an instrument of God from that point on. And he turned his life around, and the rest, as they say, is history. He married June, and they had a wonderful life together. So our intentions, even when we're in the depths of despair, can sometimes change just like that. If we simply let go and say, God, I surrender. I don't know how to do this anymore. I just don't know I've tried everything I know. What more can I do? And we just let go, and God is there in that holy instant for us. So you and I have the capability, if we simply tune into that place and just say, I'm ready. I'm ready for my change. I'm ready for my transformation. I'm ready to up-level my abilities to be an instrument for good in this world. See, when the movies were first shown in theaters way back in the early 1910s, 1920s, they actually, this is an old-timey picture, they showed them, and the audiences were so confused because they didn't understand projection. They knew that there was a projector back there, but they actually rushed to the screen because they saw these images onto the screen, and they would feel the wall because they couldn't figure out, how is that happening? And too many times in our lives, don't we run to the wall, run to the screen and try to change the screen? When what's really happening is our intentions are back there in the projector. Our consciousness is back there. Our consciousness is the one that is driving the bus, so to speak. Are you with me? And here we are trying to go up to the wall, go, hey, wait a minute, I don't want that. Let's change that movie screen. When it's the projector. The projector's the one that we've got to work with. That's our consciousness. That's where we set the intentions. That's where we pave the way for a life unfolding. In The Gift of Change, which was written by Marianne Williamson, she writes, trying to fix our outer world is like trying to change a movie by manipulating the screen. The world as we know it is simply a screen onto which we project our thoughts. Until we change those thoughts, the movie stays the same. If you're tired of the movie that's showing up in your life, guess what? You get to change the reel. You get to change it back at the projector. You get to change the thought behind it that knows that you are deserving of so much more. Another one of my heroes, Johnny Coleman, who was a Unity minister for many, many years. She was a trained Unity minister, but prior to that, she was actually given, back in the 50s, she was given 6 months to live. Her doctor said, I'm sorry, you have an incurable disease. Get your affairs in order. Well, she decided that was the movie screen and that she was going to work on her projector. And so she started her work, her affirmations, her intentions, and surrounded herself with people who pulled her up, not put her down. She was careful about her using her energy, and she decided that she was going to not just live 6 months, but how about 60 more years? Because that's how long she did live. More than that. She lived until she was 94 years old. In the meantime, she built a very prosperous ministry in Chicago. And they have about 4,000 members come every Sunday still, even though she has since passed away. But one of my favorite quotes of hers is this: I am the thinker that thinks the thought that makes the thing. Let's say that together. I am the thinker that thinks the thought that makes the thing. Yes. 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 He's got it going on. And she built an incredible ministry that now has spread across the globe. Her churches are all over the globe now. So her legacy is that consciousness can be changed, and she deciding to change her own consciousness to begin with, because isn't that where it all starts? Right here with us. When she changed her consciousness, she knew that she could go out and teach others how to do the same. And that's what she did in a miraculous, marvelous way. Johnny Coleman is a legend in New Thought. I am the thinker that thinks the thought that makes the thing. You have so much power at your disposal. And don't we forget that so quickly, right? I had my meditation this morning. I'm zoned. I'm all prayed up. I walk outside, get in my car to drive here. I live in Asheville. Drive 2 hours. Somebody cuts me off. And I'm like, ooh, there went my consciousness because of someone else's action. And this is what I had to say to myself. I refuse to rent space in my mind to anyone that is not celebrating my magnificence. I refuse. And so I had to bring myself back. I treated myself and prayed myself all the way down that mountain because I had to be here to bring the consciousness here. Are you taking the time to build the consciousness and then remain in that consciousness no matter what happens in your world all day long? That's the work that is in front of us, isn't it? That's our work. It doesn't matter what you do for a living. You're all ministering in some way, aren't you? We're all ministers. We're all ministers. And we get to prove this every single day. Where two or more are gathered, you are celebrating the power of each other and the power of the individual as God every Sunday here. And in all the groups that meet here. In the board. Thank you for chairing our board. And the choir, the music. Patricia worked so hard in selecting the music. There is God among us because where two or more are gathered, you have set the intention to be an excellent version of God here. And that's what we're celebrating today. I'm going to close with something. You might have heard this before. It was written back in 1895. That's how long it's been around. By Joseph Malins. And if you go online and Google this, you'll see a couple of YouTube videos come up. John Denver used to say this at his concerts every now and then. It's called An Ambulance Down in the Valley. And this is how it goes. 'Twas a dangerous cliff, as they freely confessed, though to walk near its crest was so pleasant. But over its terrible edge there had slipped a duke and full many a peasant. The people said something would have to be done, but their projects did not at all tally. Some said, put a fence round the edge of the cliff, others, an ambulance down in the valley. The lament of the crowd was profound and was loud as their hearts overflowed with their pity. But the cry for the ambulance carried the day as it spread through the neighboring city. A collection was made to accumulate aid, and the dwellers in highway and alley gave dollars or cents, not to furnish a fence, but an ambulance down in the valley. For the cliff is all right if you're careful, they said, and if folks ever slip and are falling and are dropping, it isn't the slipping that hurts them so much as the shock down below when they're stopping. So for years we have heard, as these mishaps occurred, quick forth with the rescuers sally, to pick up the victims who fell from the cliff with the ambulance down in the valley. Said one to his peers, it's a marvel to me that you give so much greater attention to repairing results than to curing the cause. You had much better aim at prevention. For the mischief, of course, should be stopped at its source. Come, neighbors and friends, let us rally. It is far better sense to rely on a fence than an ambulance down in the valley. He's wrong in his head, the majority said. He would end all our earnest endeavor. He's a man who would shirk his responsible work, but we will support it forever. Aren't we picking up all just as fast as they fall and giving them care liberally? A superfluous fence is of no consequence if the ambulance works in the valley. The story is queer as we've written it here, but things oft occur that are stranger. More humane, we assert, than to succor the hurt is the plan of removing the danger. The best possible course is to safeguard the source, attend to things rationally. Yes, build up the fence, and let us dispense with the ambulance down in the valley. Amen. Yes. Isn't that great? From 1895. So, you and I are teaching people to build a fence, right? And we're teaching ourselves to build a fence rather than have to wait for an ambulance down in the valley. I much prefer to not fall down and need an ambulance. Anyone with me on that? And that's where it starts, is to teach and to know and to practice and to prove that we are here to celebrate that we are instruments of God and that we have the power to create our world without going down into the valley. We get to stay up on the crest of the hill. We might slip down every now and then, but you know what? The ambulance brings us right back up. And you and I have such a power where two or more are gathered. We get to practice this wonderful teaching called New Thought. We get to practice knowing that we are vessels of good in this world. We get to practice that we know that we are lights shining brightly. And all we have to do is say yes to all the good that is coming through us. Let's take that into prayer. Father, Mother God, we are just so grateful for this opportunity to know the truth with a capital T, knowing that as we do so, we are recognizing the power and glory of God within each one of us. We are here to be vessels of good, vessels of God, vessels of harmony, vessels of prosperity. And so we know our assignment and we say yes to all that is coming up and teaching us and letting our consciousness grow and grow and grow. We're not afraid of moving into the future. We're not afraid of stepping onto the next step. We know that God has got our back. We know that we are here to be that which we came here to be. And so I simply let go of any old thoughts of limitation, any thoughts that I have to compete with someone, that there's only so much of the pie to go around. No, we know that we are abundant beings with unlimited potential. And so we simply say yes. We say yes to that God within that is always calling us forward, always pulling us into that upward evolution that says you are here to celebrate the unfoldment of man as God. There is no greater journey. There is no greater risk. There is no greater joy than that which you are about to embark upon. And so we simply move to that place of deep knowingness, and we simply allow ourselves to surrender to that power within, knowing that as we do so, all is unfolding exactly as it should. For all of this and more, I give grateful thanks, knowing that as I do so, I am setting up that law alone is guiding my way, and I know that as I do so, I simply allow law to do its work because I have claimed it, I know it is done. And together we say, and so it is. Amen.
Fighting voices in my mind that say I'm not enough. Every single lie that tells me I will never measure up. Am I more than just the sum of every high and every low? Remind me once again just who I am, because I need to know. Oh, you say I am loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I am strong when I think I am weak. You say I am held when I am falling short, when I don't belong. You say I am yours, and I believe, oh, I believe what you say of me. Oh, I believe. The only thing that matters now is everything you think of me. In you I find my worth, in you I find my identity. Oh, you say I am loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I am strong when I think I am weak. You say I am held when I am falling short, when I don't belong. You say I am yours, and I believe, oh, I believe what you say of me. Oh, I believe. Taking all I have, and now I'm laying it at your feet. You have every failure, God. Now you'll have every victory. Oh, you say I am loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I am strong when I feel I am weak. You say I am held when I am falling short, when I don't belong. Oh, you say I am yours. Oh, I believe. Oh, I believe what you say of me. Oh, I believe. Oh, I believe. Yes, I believe what you say of me. Oh, I believe. I believe. Oh, I believe what you say of me. Oh, I believe. Oh, I believe.
All right, we can pass the Kleenexes now. Oh, my gosh. Oh, wow. And I want you to know that Susan came up to hug me this morning, and she said, I'm dealing with this. I'm like, stop. You are an instrument of God this morning. And didn't she just prove that? Yes. So whatever you were dealing with, God's got you. All right. So we're going to close with our prayer of protection, and then we're going to sing our closing song. What is our closing song? Peace song. The peace song, of course. See, when you only get me a couple months, sorry. All right, so let's join hands together with your neighbors across the aisle. The people that, yes, there we go. So let's say it together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.